Welcome to Martechify, a community of marketing professionals interested in digital marketing, Martech, and AI. I am your host today, Ekaterina Konovalova, and I'm excited to welcome to our show Vadim Koenen, who is a marketing, operations, and automation expert at ModUp. I invited Vadim to share his perspective on ABM, its evolution. So we'll start with the basics, with history, and how different tools can be integrated and work seamlessly together. Vadim, welcome.
Yeah, thank you so much, Ekaterina. Thanks for having me here. Really excited to talk about a little bit of my experience with the subject, and hopefully this can be useful to anybody trying to maybe apply or look at an ABM strategy in the future. And so,
Absolutely.
when I started in marketing automation over a decade ago, and every time I say that, it sounds strange to hear out loud, a lot of departments, a lot of marketing methodologies were still rooted in the lead approach. And so the lead approach really was coined by Serious Decisions. And this is where you essentially go from a target to a prospect to an inquiry. And then depending on your actions and what you are, who you are, what you do, you become an MQL, which is a marketing qualified lead. And then from there, you pass it on to sales. And if sales approves it, you become an SQL, sales qualified. And then if they approve it, it's sales accepted. And then from there, you become an opportunity. And after that, hopefully, if all goes well, you become a customer. And so many departments are still doing that. But in the B2B ecosystem, this is becoming less and less efficient. And why is that? Well, this is primarily because of three reasons. So the first of which, buying committees and buying groups are getting bigger and bigger. And this is happening because firms are getting more and more employees. So within departments, you no longer have one kind of person making the decisions, you have multiple. And so from a targeting perspective, it's more efficient to target the whole committee versus one person. Realistically speaking, if you market to more people, you can hopefully get more results. The second of which is sales cycles. So for a lot of B2B products, sales cycles are getting longer and longer. And for the third of which, form fills. A lot of buyers now are going online, going to websites anonymously, and they're filling out less and less forms. So it's harder to kind of uncover who these buying committees are. And so this is kind of where ABM comes in. And so the way ABM improves upon this model is that instead of looking at leads, you're now looking at the buying committee or account as a whole. And so essentially within ABM, there's 6sense, there's demand-based, there's different platforms. Those are the two kind of biggest ones, the biggest players right now. But regardless of which platform you utilize, there's really kind of 5 key aspects that go into a strategic ABM play. And so the first of which is you're going to want to select the best accounts. And so you do that by identifying your ICP. And your ICP is your ideal customer profile. Now, tools like 6sense can actually help you uncover your ICP. And they do this by looking at a number of different frameworks and factors. So a tool like 6sense will actually integrate into your CRM and your marketing automation platform. Now, when I say CRM, I mean customer relationship management platform. Most people have Salesforce. That's a big one. You have to have Microsoft Dynamics. You have other players. But for the most part, you will have Salesforce. Marketing automation platform is something like a Marketo or a Pardot or an Eloqua or a HubSpot. And so what happens is these tools, they don't natively integrate, but there is an integration where they can see all the fields and they can see all the data, and it's a bidirectional sync, right? And so based on the first party data from your CRM and your map, this tool can basically say, oh, okay, this is a firm with this many employees and it's in this vertical and so on and so forth. And then over time, it starts building data on what looks like, your best customer profile based on how many opportunities are created and based on how many customers are yielded from that data set. The second factor is your first party cookie data. And so when firms go to your website, tools like 6sense can actually scrub their IP. And so based on that, they can actually determine what account it is. And then there's third party cookie data. So tools like demand-based and 6sense have a giant syndicated content network that they partner with. And so they're constantly pulling insights from there as well. And then lastly is going to be your review sites like G2 and TrustRadius. And so they partner with those networks as well to pull in more data. So they use all of this to essentially uncover the dark funnel. And so they use this to help you pick the right accounts. So once you have the best accounts, you have to basically know about them, right? And so again, based on a lot of these insights that these tools provide, you can essentially decide, okay, what tools are they looking for? Where are they going on the website? What keywords are they searching for? And then within that, you can also start building a persona map of the individuals within the accounts. And the idea is you want to find the right accounts at the right time so you can engage with them in the right way. And so one of the biggest things a tool like Sixth Sense does is it surfaces where an account is in the buying journey. And so this essentially means based on the various factors that plug into their data equation, Sixth Sense can predict, it's a predictive tool, where the account is in the buying journey. So if the account is early on in the buying journey, the kind of content you want to market to that account is going to be drastically different than they are if they're in the purchase or decision phase. And so a good ABM playbook will essentially take these factors into consideration, and then the content that the marketing team creates should also mirror that. And then another big part of all this is collaboration with sales. So you want sales to join the conversation, and this is hopefully towards the end of the buying journey, right? You want them to come in and you want them to be relevant. So the speaking points that they have and the information that they come into the discussion armed with, it has to be meaningful, it has to be impactful. And so these tools help uncover said information, and you can also work with sales and really have them be as an equal partner in the conversation. And then lastly, these tools help with tracking and reporting. And so as I mentioned, because they do integrate into your CRM and your marketing automation platform, you can track the movement through these buying stages. And then by tracking the movement, you can see what factors are actually moving the lever and what content is moving the lever. And of course, opportunity creation lives in Salesforce. And based on that, you can pivot and adjust accordingly. And so a couple of examples that I've actually built myself that I want to mention, kind of putting this all together, is how this would work in a real world with real marketing automation platforms. So let's take a competitor displacement campaign, for example. Let's say that you are in a telecom industry and a lot of your current customers are looking around. They're not being very loyal. And how do you know that they're looking? Well, because you have a tool like Sixth Sense that if you put in the account into the tool, the account's domain, it can see what keywords that account is searching for. So you can upload a list of specific competitor keywords, right? And so now you can build a segment. You can build a segment of current customers that are looking at key competitive accounts. And then you could also put in keywords for specific product offerings that you might want to compete against. So using this segment, you can run an orchestration, which essentially pulls out people within that account that you already have in your system. And you can create a nurture program. You can create a lot of things. You can create webhooks with Slack that can fire off to your sales team that says, hey, get on this account. They're looking at Zoom, as an example. Another thing you can do is you can go directly into Salesforce and you can build an SLA. So you have a 7-day service level agreement for whether it be account management or sales to reach out to this account and mark it as a task to make sure it's done. So this provides reporting and this provides visibility into the action. So it doesn't just kind of fall into the ether. And so that's just one example. Another example is if you have a list of named accounts, for example, a sales team is going after. These are going to be your tier one, your blue chip accounts, as they call them. And so you can plug them into the system. You can see where they are in the buying stage, the buying journey, and they could be in purchase. But if they're in purchase, that doesn't necessarily mean that they're in purchase with you. They could be in purchase with other firms. So again, you can push them into a Marketo, or in this case, I would suggest pushing them into a Sales Loft, which is a sales enablement tool, where you have assets like BDRs, your business development representatives, that then have a one-to-one approach. Instead of a one-to-many like in Marketo, you have a one-to-one to where they're calling you and sending you personalized individual emails, which of course is going to most likely improve the feedback from the marketing. And so What's really cool is if you start stacking all of these systems on top of each other, you start getting what I like to call platform synergy, because you set this up in an automated way. You build out your segmentation, you schedule your orchestrations, you schedule your emails, you train your BDRs, you give them the script, you arm sales with the right intelligence, and you basically turn it on. It's evergreen. Everything qualifies automatically. Everything gets pushed to your nurture or your sales loft automatically. The BDRs go throughout their day and you can track what they're doing as well. Everything is reported and everything goes back into your main system of record, your CRM, which is your Salesforce. I've built multiple campaigns like this. And because this, as I mentioned, the sales cycles are longer, you really get to see awesome results about a year in. So it's not an overnight. This is not a, you know, hey, we need results tomorrow kind of play. This is a play that, because the sales cycles are longer and the budgets are bigger, this is going to take some time. But if you turn it on and you do it correctly, you're going to see wonderful results. One of the campaigns that I personally built, within a year, we saw millions of dollars in opportunities. And then within that, millions of dollars that were actually closed won customers. And so that's kind of the 50,000 foot overview of ABM, and platform synergy.
Perfect. That was very helpful. Thank you, Vadim.
Thank you.